What if the biggest reveal in Elbaf isn't Loki, isn't Imu, but Brook? Because chapter 1183 doesn't just move the story forward. It digs into something One Piece rarely touches this deeply. A past that refuses to stay buried. The chapter opens in the middle of overwhelming tension. Loki is still standing before Imu, and at this point, it almost feels unnatural. Not because he's strong, but because he's still resisting. Imu doesn't feel like an opponent you fight. Imu feels like something you survive, if you're lucky. There's this quiet dominance in the way Imu speaks. No shouting, no wasted movement, just certainty, the kind of certainty that comes from someone who has never been challenged in a meaningful way. And yet Loki stands there, injured, exhausted, but unbending. And that's what makes this moment powerful. Because this isn't about who wins. It's about who refuses to submit. But before that tension can fully explode, the story pulls away. And suddenly, everything becomes more human. Elbaf is in chaos. Not heroic chaos. Not glorious battle. Real chaos. Children crying. Giants shouting. Parents running through destruction trying to protect what little they can. And in those moments, you're reminded that behind all the power, behind all the legends, there are people. And they're losing control. That feeling spreads across the chapter. It's not just physical destruction. It's emotional weight. The sense that something is going wrong on a level no one fully understands. And then, everything slows down. Brook appears. And the entire tone shifts. Because in the middle of all this noise, he goes completely still. A mysterious woman stands before him, and immediately, something is wrong. Not because she attacks, not because she threatens anyone, but because Brook recognizes her. And he doesn't want to. That hesitation, that silence, it says more than any dialogue. When he finally speaks, it's not with fear, it's with reluctance. She's not an enemy, but she's someone I hoped I'd never have to face again. That's not how you talk about someone you hate. That's how you talk about someone who mattered. Someone tied to a past you tried to move on from, but never really did. And as the chapter unfolds, the mystery only deepens. The others try to make sense of her. They point out the obvious. If she really is who Brook thinks she is, then the timeline doesn't make sense. She should be old, decades older, and yet she looks the same. That alone creates this unsettling feeling. Like something unnatural is happening. Like time itself doesn't apply here the way it should. Then comes the bigger shock. She might be a celestial dragon. And suddenly, the stakes shift again. Because now this isn't just personal. This is political, dangerous, world-level dangerous. But even with that revelation, her actions don't match. She helps them at one point. Frees them. Then later, she becomes aggressive. Then she changes again. It's like she's not one person. It's like something is breaking inside her. At one point, she even transforms into something described as demonic, before returning to normal again. And now the fear isn't just about who she is. It's about what she's becoming. And whether there's anything left of the person Brook once knew. Brook once knew a different world. A world where things weren't broken, where chaos didn't define everything. Back then, Esperia wasn't a battlefield. It was a kingdom full of music, life, and ambition. A place where people laughed, where instruments echoed through the streets, and where dreams actually felt possible. And at the center of that world, stood two figures. Two stars that shaped the kingdom itself. One was Brook, not the wandering skeleton we see today, but a captain. A leader of the battle convoy. A man respected, feared, and admired all at once. His blade wasn't just fast, it was unmatched. His quick draw technique was something people couldn't even comprehend. Enemies didn't see it coming, they just fell. But Brook wasn't alone, because the other star of this kingdom was Candelle, the Queen of Esperia, strong, elegant, untouchable. She wasn't just royalty sitting on a throne. She was powerful in her own right. Someone who stood at the top not just because of her title, but because of who she was. And together, they defined an era of balance, of strength, of peace. For 70 years, this kingdom stood tall with them at its core. But if One Piece has taught us anything, it's that peace like that doesn't last. Because the moment we return to the present, everything feels wrong. That same Candelle is no longer the queen we just saw. She's unstable, dangerous, almost unrecognizable, like something inside her has been twisted, broken, reshaped into something darker. And Brook, the man who once stood beside her, can only watch. Because this isn't just someone he remembers. This is someone he cared about. someone he trusted, someone who was part of his world. And now, he's standing in front of what she's become. And that's what makes this moment hit so hard. It's not just a reveal. It's not just a flashback. It's the realization that something went terribly wrong, in a story that once looked perfect.